I'm lucky, very lucky, or we're lucky to have Chris here. And Chris has been a cyclist and he now drives a motorbike or a scooter, whatever you want to call it. So I've just nabbed him and managed to get a little bit of his time just to get his thoughts on a couple of things. I'll start off by apologising for the background noise. We're a bit limited on where we can do this. So I'll start off by saying I've interviewed a couple of people in the past and they've been I think that they felt it necessary to be very positive about Deliveroo. And I just want to say that my opinion has always been throughout these videos, my opinion, it's always been honest, regardless of whether it's negative or positive. And I'll say on the opposite that there are positive and there are negative things about Deliveroo, because if there was nothing positive about it, then neither me nor Chris or anybody else would do it for a long period of time.
Very true, yeah.
And if I'm correct in saying, you have a second job as well, you have a main job.
Yes, yeah. This is a part-time job for me, yeah.
But you've been here from, is it day zero in Reading?
No, it was February 2016, or the end of February. And I think it started the summer before that.
Oh, okay, so quite a long time then.
Yeah.
You were here before me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about a year and a half now, isn't it?
Yeah, and you must have seen some changes, but we shall come to that. Okay, I think the main thing which everyone is going to want to talk about is probably something which I can't cover personally, and that's motorbikes.
All right.
Because you were a cyclist, and now you're not. Now you ride a motorbike.
Yeah, I switched in, I think it was March of this year, yeah. So
Okay.
March 2017.
So a lot of people ask me about motorbikes, and I can't ask them. So if you could just go through the decision-making process that you made when deciding to ride a motorbike instead of a cycle, your road bike, because I know you're into cycling too. So if you could just mention things like insurance, CVT, why you chose the bike, and we'll take it from there. So
Yeah. Well, I think the main reason I decided to do it was from the money perspective, from earning. You tend to earn more as a scooter rider than a cyclist. And I think that Deliveroo, well, I'm sure that Deliveroo prioritise the motorbike riders for orders. I think that's quite evident to most people.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
So you could be sitting around as a cyclist and you'll still see the scooter riders sort of zipping about doing orders. So I'd say that was one of the main reasons. Another being that I'm sort of interested in motorbikes, and I did my CVT and my full test, and I thought, as well as getting a regular motorbike, I could get a scooter for Deliveroo.
Oh, excellent! I didn't know that. So can I ask you what the prices of the CVT is?
Yeah, I mean, I did a package deal sort of for the whole training course, but for the CVT it ranges, it's around 100, 130 pounds.
And that lasts you for, is it 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years, and then you have to redo it.
Or do the motorbike test?
Yeah, or do your full test, yeah.
Okay, so one thing which has always confused the hell out of me, and that is courier insurance.
Yeah. Well, essentially you have to have regular insurance for your scooter or bike, and then courier insurance is on top of that. So it can work out quite expensive. I think most riders like me use something like Zego, which is sort of pay as you go. So you pay courier insurance just for when you're working, rather than having a full courier insurance for.
Okay, and out of interest, could you give us any rough kind of ballpark figures about?
Yeah, so the regular insurance will vary quite a bit,
definitely.
depending on your age and your experience. So I think I pay for my bike, which is a new one, so it's a 17 reg. I think I pay about $450 a year for the regular insurance, and the courier insurance works out about 60p per hour.
Okay.
And it's capped at a maximum of, I think it's £5 a day. So.
Okay. That's not that bad, is it?
No, I mean, obviously, it sort of benefits you if you work lots and lots of hours, because you're capped at what, that's £20, £30 a week or something.
Okay. Well, that isn't bad at all. I've spoken to some people who have given me horrendous figures. Absolutely, I think he was trying to discourage me from doing it, to be honest. Okay, well that's pretty good. And do you think that would vary, like with the bike insurance, where if you're 17 or something like that, which is kind of immaterial because you can't do it at 17 anyway, but your insurance is going to vary wildly for younger people or people that live in dodgy areas. Is that the same with car insurance, do you know, or do you think that's just like...
I think that's the flat rate that they charge.
Sweet.
So they just sort of ask you if you have a regular insurance policy, and then their insurance is sort of an add-on for when you're working. So you can sort of set it up on the app to start and finish when you start and finish working.
Sweet. Okay. Okay, now, so you were interested in motorbikes, and you, for the purpose of doing Deliveroo, you chose to get a Forza, is it?
Yeah, I got a Honda Forza scooter, yeah.
And I'm guessing it's just because an automatic is a hell of a lot easier. Although I don't ride a motorbike, I do. I am interested in motorbikes. I know a bit about them.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing an automatic is going to be a hell of a lot easier in the town.
Yeah, it is easier. It's a lot simpler. It's just a twist and go.
Yeah. Okay, so we just got cut off there by batteries. Yeah, we were talking about automatic and manual because I know that Pauline, she drives a manual.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's got is it a Honda CB 125F? Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I tend to speak a little quietly. Yeah.
It's okay, no worries.
Yeah, so I think that's what she fancied, what she wanted to do it on.
Yeah, I think typically manual has got nicer driving experience, but for doing the job, I know exactly what I would have, and that would be something like I don't even know if you get them in the UK, something like a Honda Vision, but I'd prefer a Honda Click 125.
Right.
Those things fly for the size of them.
Are they quite similar to the Vision?
They're a bit sportier.
Yeah.
For some reason, the scooter market in the UK is you go from bikes for everyone to bikes for 16-year-olds, and there's no in between it.
Yeah.
But a Honda Click fits quite nicely in there. It's fast and it looks quite cool at the same time for a scooter anyway.
Yeah.
Apart from yours, it looks like Megatron.
Yeah. I think that's partly why I went for it, because Louis had one, and so I'd seen it quite a lot, and I thought I quite like the look of it. So if I was going to get a scooter, I'd go for that one.
Yeah. I absolutely detest the one in between it. What is it?
Is it another Honda?
PCX.
Oh, the PCX.
I detest
You don't like
those.
that?
I absolutely detest those. Okay, so enjoyment.
Yeah.
Cycling compared to motorcycle driving.
Yeah, that's an interesting one actually. I did enjoy cycling. It's a different kind of enjoyment, I suppose. You get I think you get more of the rush from having done exercise, obviously with the bike. Sort of cycling along under your own power is quite different. But I suppose on the scooter it's a different kind of enjoyment, just sort of zipping between the traffic.
Yeah. A bit more life and death. Yeah. Although I've got to say, life and death is pretty close on the bike sometimes.
Well, yeah, exactly. And get the cornering on the scooter as well. It's something that you can sort of progressively get better at and become more proficient at. It's quite enjoyable.
What about cold weather? Because that was something that always got me miserable.
Yeah.
Have you done it on the motorbike in cold weather?
It was pretty cold when I started, but it was sort of, I suppose it was getting towards the start of spring, so I haven't done it through winter yet.
Because I've got to say, without a shadow of a doubt, the cold, wind and rain is the worst thing about cycling.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
Okay, and I know it's difficult for you to give us any ideas about earning potential, but as a percentage, is there anything you can say about how much more money you earn, or just a rough idea?
Well, the tricky thing is I switched over from the old to the new way of being paid, as it were.
Oh, you per drop now?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's another interesting question.
So I was paid the £6 an hour plus £1 per delivery.
Yeah.
And then I think was it June that they offered us?
I think I was out of the country at that point.
They offered us chance to switch to being paid per drop only as a trial period, $3.75 per drop. So I tried that and I didn't switch back, so I've stayed.
You are one of the few people that didn't switch back. I'm guessing that's because you get continuous work on a motorbike.
Yes, for me it's okay. I usually only work in the evenings when it's busier anyway. And then plus the fact that I've switched to the motorbike, I tend to find that it's busier. It is busier. They give you more orders than they give to the bicycle riders. So, well, it's difficult to put a figure on it.
So are you happier doing per drop if you're working continuously?
Yes, you will earn more, definitely.
Cool.
As long as it's busy. And I'd say that since I switched over, there's perhaps been maybe 1 or 2 shifts where I've made less under the new system. All the rest I've made more. So I haven't seen a reason to want to switch back.
Because I know that like 90, wow, this is just from people talking, but the large majority of people that switch back on bikes, on cycling bikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, carry on.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
Okay, I want to talk to you just briefly about theft. I know quite a lot of people have had their motorbikes stolen. Okay, so we had a little bit of a technical problem with batteries and we've had to relocate. We got a little bit of a wind noise, but we shall continue. So I think we were talking about theft of motorbikes.
Yeah. There has been a problem in Reading. I don't think it's quite reached sort of the London scale, the epidemic in London, but I think it's at least five people have had their scooters stolen in Reading. And I think it's also quite well known, more or less, who's doing it. It's just a case of doing anything about it. It's a tricky thing.
Yeah, the thing which when I was reading, I found quite frustrating, or I felt the frustration, is the police, the attitude of the police towards it. They didn't necessarily prioritise, which I found quite surprising.
No, I mean, I've not personally had that experience of having a bike stolen, but a lot of the scooter riders seem to suggest that although they've informed the police and they know sort of the gang of teenagers essentially who are taking the bikes, the police don't seem to really take any action or don't seem to be able to take any action. I'm not sure what the situation's like elsewhere, but I think one of the bikes, at least one of the scooters, has been recovered.
Oh, sweet! I didn't know that.
By some of the other Deliveroo riders, so not by the police.
Oh, okay.
It's a case of they followed them to where they were keeping the bike.
Yeah, I did hear about that. That sounded quite crazy, actually. We probably shouldn't talk about that too much.
No, I don't know any more details.
Yeah,
really,
no, just the things that I read weren't. Yeah. Anyway, so have you got any tips with regards to theft, i.e., leaving your bike overnight and whilst you're in a restaurant? I suppose your bike's quite safe because it's newer.
Yeah, I think, well, mine does have an electronic immobiliser. So I'm sure more sophisticated thieves could probably get around that. But I think often what they do with scooters is break the steering lock, which is not that difficult, and then take it away using another scooter, sort of side along, and then hotwire it at a later date.
Yeah, I think the rule that I always used to follow, because I had a scooter when I was 17, and I think in the few months that I had it, people tried to steal it at least 5 times.
Really?
And the steering lock was always broken. But I think the saying is if they really want it, they will have it.
Yes, definitely. And I know the more professional gangs sort of go out scouting for bikes that they want, and then they might follow you back home. I know one of the tips is supposed to be, if you're heading home and you see someone following you, you should,
go a different way.
Take a different route, see if they're still following you, and not just head straight back to your house so that they can see where they can come and lift it. But as far as whilst you're working, there's not a great deal you can do other than the obvious, not leave your key in it for any amount of time.
I was surprised at how quickly that they took that guy's bike from the place near Tesco's. because he said he just went upstairs. I was thinking, what'd you do? Leave the keys in it? What?
Yeah, I wondered that as well.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't know about that. Anyway, what else have we got to talk about? Because I know that we've both got work later. We were having an interesting discussion before we got here about kit. Now,
Yes.
everybody knows my opinion, and I've been very honest about it. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. Have you had any experiences of it? What do you think about it?
I haven't had to buy any yet, but I did get the same email I think we all got, saying essentially that we're not required to use Deliveroo kit, but if we want to buy it, we can from their store. So that's different from before, where we were provided with the kit that we needed by Deliveroo in exchange for a deposit,
Yeah.
refundable deposit.
The thing which really annoyed me is that at the end, when you decide to leave, you don't get money back for
No.
the kit. If you bought it, it's yours.
Yeah, you've got Deliveroo branded kit, which is useless to you. So I think it's a bit of a joke as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, the backpack is £50. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
lot of money, isn't it? And they break.
Yeah.
The thing is that they break. So you might buy one, and then within a few months, as has happened to me, I think I'm on my 4th backpack. This is pre-paying for them, obviously.
Yeah, I was on my 2nd very quickly.
So I can see why they've done it, because obviously it's costing them a lot of money in kit.
But it's their fault, isn't it? Get
Yeah.
decent zips, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
I mean, you're unzipping and unzipping the bag hundreds and hundreds of times.
Nature of the
a week.
business.
It's going to wear out, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a bit unfair to expect
Yeah, it's
us
not like you can.
to pick up the cost of that.
It's not like you can use it for taking your books to university when you
No,
finish.
no.
Okay, what else have we got to talk about? You, as I probably mentioned earlier, there's a new thing called Editions. I don't know if people know about that. Could you briefly just mention what Editions is and how you feel about it?
Yeah, so Deliveroo Editions, essentially they've set up in a little warehouse in Reading anyway, a little industrial estate, kitchens for a number of restaurants that aren't already in Reading, where they make food that's delivered, and essentially it's Deliveroo only, so you can order through the app as normal, but they're not physically a restaurant that you can visit. You can simply order takeaway. So they've got in a couple that aren't in Reading, like Tali and Ping Pong, are two of them. And I think
One thing which I found funny is I think this is ingenious, is that they gain popularity because they have all of these restaurants. And I'm not saying this is a negative point. I think this is excellent business strategy. So they get all this popularity from having these restaurants, and then they backdoor their own products and try and sell them, which I'm guessing they would definitely make a higher profit margin. I think it's ingenious if people will buy it, if people will go for it.
Yeah.
Because if they started off by doing that, if they said, okay, we're a delivery company and we're going to deliver things that you've never heard for, people will go, no thank you. I think it's ingenious. If it works, good for them.
Yeah, I mean, since I've started, I think it was 2.5 to 3 weeks ago now they started it. It seems to have proved quite popular. So I think it's brands that people have heard of already and couldn't get anywhere else in Reading. So
Yeah. I think it is a natural progression, though. If they're making money, I definitely think it is. I mean, think about it. If they could, I know this has turned into more of a chat now, but if they could say, like, I don't know, 6 months or a couple of years down the line, have pretty much everything that people could want fried chicken, burgers, blah blah blah, all in their warehouse, how much more money could they make?
yeah, true.
Especially if they prove themselves as a reputation.
Yeah, it makes sense for Deliveroo, and I suppose for the restaurants, in that they're sort of, instead of having to cope with takeaway orders and restaurant orders from their regular restaurant, they can section off the delivery bit to be more efficient.
Yeah, watch this space, because I definitely think that there could be massive success with that. If people go for it, if they can prove themselves, then I think that everyone could win out of that. What else have we got to talk about? I don't know. Okay, so like me, you're always honest about your opinion, I've noticed, from the group chat. Could you say what you would say to people joining Deliveroo, the good, the bad, any tips, just your genuine opinion? I think it's very unlikely that there'd be any negative repercussions from Deliveroo. I'm very opinionated and I've never had any issues. So although I don't want to put you in a position where you feel you have to be negative, just like maybe censor your opinion 5% and just give us your opinion.
Sure. I mean, I suppose it depends what you want to get out of it as a job. People do it successfully as their only job, full time, and or as many hours as they can get. I think the tricky thing is it's not a guaranteed income, is it? In that sense.
Yeah.
So you can't perhaps plan month to month and say I will get this much because you are reliant on the shifts being available.
I think it's probably more for cyclists. Motorbikes seem to get whatever they want. Oh no, you don't, do you?
No, I mean I was looking to do more recently because my second job isn't. I'm not doing my second job at the moment because it's the school holidays. But it's still difficult to get shifts during the day because obviously demand's lower, so they need less people. Yeah. I definitely say it's a big advantage as a second or part-time job. I'd say perhaps it's the prime appeal of it, in that you could do another job and do it in the evening, and so you're topping up your earnings that way.
So, is it a good company to, I wouldn't say work for, should I say work for? I suppose work, yeah, that doesn't mean you're an employee. Is it a good company to work for?
As long as you don't expect too much from them.
Yeah.
I think, in terms of support. I think they're faster than they used to be in responding to inquiries. But essentially, because you're self-employed, or technically self-employed, they don't feel any great sense of responsibility towards you. So, although you can book time off and such, you won't get any benefits, you won't get any pay, and if you breach their terms of contract in some major way, then they won't have any compunction about just getting rid of you.
You're out the door.
So it's fine as long as you're not seeing it as a career in that sense. It's just sort of it's a job, and it's reasonable money as long as you can get the shifts.
Yeah. Well, they're saying that. What is minimum wage at the moment?
Not actually sure. Is it
around £7?
£7.50? But it depends on your age, doesn't it? It's less if you're. So it's definitely better, especially if you're a student or 18, 19, that sort of age. You probably would earn more doing Deliveroo than
if you did it in busy
retail
periods. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything negative to say about them?
Well, I think they do take advantage, especially the kit issue you mentioned. That's a good example.
Yeah.
They're using their status or your status as self-employed to say, well, you're not obliged to buy a kit or to use our kit, but if you do, we'll charge you for it. It's not really reasonable, is it? Because you need kit, you need a bag, you need various items of equipment to perform the job.
Yeah, and I noticed that the power bank is completely out of that now. That's out of the equation.
Oh, you can't even buy that?
No. One of my negative points was that if they're buying it in bulk, then these things should be cheaper to their workers. I say workers, and they just aren't. No.
I mean, £50 for that backpack.
Yeah.
There's no way it's worth that, is it? You wonder if they're also making a profit.
No, in my mind, and obviously I can't back this up, but there is no way that they are selling that at cost.
Yeah.
Think about how many thousands and thousands of those things that they buy.
Well, yeah.
And you think that they're buying that for 50 quid. Maybe they're buying it at cost to get it delivered to every single person and pay the person to man the warehouse to distribute them. Maybe. But there is no way that they are definitely making a profit, in my opinion. And not only that, everything else too.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about? Have we covered everything?
I feel like broadly.
Okay, so let's just do some bullet points. Maybe I'll use this as like a little brief short video before the video. So, what's better, working as a cyclist or as a motorbike driver? Aeon, which way for this police car? So, just a couple of bullet points.
Yeah.
What's more fun, or what's better, working as a cyclist or a motorbike driver for Deliveroo?
For me, I prefer being a motorbike rider, because although I enjoy cycling, it wasn't sort of a huge passion for me, so I don't miss it in that sense. And the potential earning is greater from the likelihood of getting shifts, and also how busy you'll be on the shift in terms of Deliveroo assigning orders.
Yeah, okay. Do you think it's viable for everyone to do it? Drive a motorbike or a scooter instead of a bike?
I'm not sure because I don't know what Deliveroo's policies are on that. I feel like they always gave a greater bonus for people signing on as a motorbike rider, didn't they? So the referral bonus for a cyclist was 100 initially, wasn't it?
Oh, I wanted to ask you about petrol. Is that fair, the way that they do petrol?
Yes, they have their formula they use to calculate what they pay you.
I read it was something to do with the GPS.
Yeah, it's to do with the orders and the distance.
But that's an interesting question, because their auto route isn't necessarily what anybody else with a right mind would follow.
No, I mean, I think it seems to be based on the Google Maps system, and obviously as you get more experience, you'll take your own routes.
So do you think it's possible to make a small profit on the petrol?
Yes, I think, because most people will be using, I think everyone will be using a 125 at most cc, and they're very fuel efficient, so I think the fuel payments so far have always been in excess of what I've actually used.
I've got to say though, that Louis, he properly caned it, so I don't know if he was making a profit.
Well, no, he's very quick, he's very experienced rider.
Yeah. What else? Do you recommend Deliveroo? Yeah, with reservations. Yeah. As I already mentioned, I mean, it's not a steady job in that sense. It's one of these a top-up job,
new type of jobs that are quite precarious. Yeah, and the whole self-employed thing is a bit of a joke, really.
Yeah. I think the long and short of it is the people that do it full time pretty much do it full time.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard work.
Yeah, it is. The motivation. I think it's easy to get lonely and depressed. It sounds pathetic, but if you do the same thing for 12 hours a day every day, and you don't talk to anyone apart from the brief conversations you have with customers and the restaurants, it's a lonely job. And if you're doing it on a bike, then I think it's probably more depressing. But then again, it's probably more stressful on a motorbike.
Well, I think on a motorbike you can wear a lot more protective clothing and sort of insulating clothing. Although when it's wet, you do still tend to get wet, and then because you're not doing exercise, you're not actually getting any heat either. But yes, in general, I'd say doing it on a push bike is harder, because you just the physical strain of it if you're doing it day after day.
Yeah.
Not a huge number of people, I think, last doing it full time on the push bike.
Yeah, I cannot believe how much determination I had when I first started, because I couldn't do what I did last year, because I was doing between 6 and 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, and on my 7th day I would do like a half day. No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chris. I'm
right.
sure I will get questions, and if it's okay, I'll point them to your direction,
Yeah,
and then,
sure.
and then I'll reply to the comments with your feedback. And I have to say, I have to point out, because I know there will be questions, you are sporting a Deliveroo styly hair colour.
Apparently, yeah, it's sort of ended up that colour, hasn't it?
And I have to point out, that is not because you were in any way paid by Deliveroo.
No, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, okay, let's just clear that up, just because there will be questions. Okay, right, excellent. Any questions for Chris? If I see him out on the road, then maybe I could show you his motorbike, obviously not the registration plate. Yeah, just fire your questions away. I think we covered everything, but if not, then just go for it, and hopefully Chris will answer them for me.
Yeah, sure.
This has been a hell of a lot longer than I had planned, but I'll edit it down a bit. So thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thanks, Craig.